Okay, so let's go ahead back to our project here. I'm going to create another class instead of a data. I'm going to say new Java class. I'm going to call this screen utility as such, and enter. In fact, let's create another package here. I'm going to say new package. I'm going to call this util. And I'm going to move this screen utility to it. That way our code is better organized. There we go. All right, so this screen utility here, again, what it's going to do is going to allow us to call it, so at runtime, we're going to be able to know the width and height of our screen device. So we can then use that information to know which layout we are supposed to use for our application. Okay, so it's a very handy class that you can use over and over again in your production applications. Okay, I'm going to say private. I'm going to add here an activity as a context here. Okay, I'll call this activity. Say private. I'm going to use float because the width and height DPIs, they're going to be in float. Those are the best way for us to really get the correct width and height. So I'm going to say dp width, say private float, say dp height. Okay, let's go ahead and create a constructor here. And I'm going to include all of these. And this constructor here, I'm just going to include the activity, right, which is the context. Okay, and what I'm going to do here, so now I'm going to go ahead and instantiate a display. So I'm going to use the display class that comes with Android, which will allow us to get the default display width of the window of our device. I'm going to say display. There we go, Android view. I'm going to call display. I'm going to go ahead and say activity.get window manager. I have a class that, okay, window manager as such. I'm going to say get default display. Next, I'm going to call another class called display metrics. So display metrics. I'm going to call out metrics. I'm going to call this equal to new display metrics. All right, so now that we have our display metrics, I'm going to go ahead and call our display class. I'm going to say display.get metrics. I'm going to pass our out metrics because it requires us to pass our display metrics objects. Okay. I'm going to say float. This is going to be density because I want to make sure that I get the density of the screen, each pixel. Say activity.get resource. Get display metrics, get display metrics, no, I get density. Okay, now to find our dp height and dp width, all I have to do is just do dp height as such. I'm going to use the out metrics. I'm going to say get the height pixels. I'm going to divide by density, so this will give us the exact height and width of the screen of the device. Do the same for width. Okay, very easy. Out metrics, that width pixel divide by density. Okay, and I'm gonna put a few getters here. So command N. We'll just go do some getters. Let's do getters. I'm going to do getters for dp and height and width. So what this will do, as you see, will return dp width and will return dp height for us. Okay. So now if I go to my fragment here, inside of our own create, I can go ahead and say the following and say screen utility. Screen utility is equal to new screen utility. And I'm going to pass the get activity because that's the context we need. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to say toast. In fact, I'm going to just use a log. The string. I'm going to say width as such. I'm just going to pass screen utility dot get width and say such. Of course, I need to make sure that this string value of, okay, to make this work. So we're gonna just make it a string so we can actually see. With any luck, we should be able to see. Let's run this. Let's see, it ran, perfect. Let's go to our console here, and we should see 411.42 width. Okay, that's very good. So we were able to get that information at runtime, which is exactly what we need. And you can see that with this information, we can do all sorts of things to allow us to then to push the right fragment or the right user interface at runtime, depending on the size of the screen of our device. All right, so we'll dig deeper in the next video. I'll see you next.